You're laying in bed late at night, drifting off to sleep when you hear a noise. A knock at one of the windows in your room. You look to the clock to see it's 3 a.m. You dismiss it as the wind. But then it happens again. Knock, knock. Twice this time. You get up to investigate. You pull back the curtain and see nothing. But then on the window on the other side of your room, knock, knock. Now you're getting angry because somebody's messing with you. But you get to that window, and nothing. In frustration, you just pull the curtain down. And as you do so, on the other window, knock, knock. But now you've got them, right? Because when they go back to the other one, you'll see them this time. And you do. A small, sickly man with thin, scraggly hair and two pointy ears looks up at you. He's no taller than 3 feet. He stares back at you with beady, unblinking eyes, and after about a minute, he lets out a shrill laugh, and then vanishes right in front of you. Gone. Welcome to episode 1 of I Want to Believe In. Today's topic is Goblins, and I'm your host, Ethan. With me today is... Say your names.
Mason.
Sup, you can call me Tom.
Tom from MySpace?
Nah, that's shorthand.
Oh, my bad.
I'm Giorgio.
Giorgio? Okay. So, should I stop the forests at night sound effects or just leave it running?
Keep it going.
Okay.
Yeah, it's pretty quiet. Sounds good to me.
Well,
You know?
first thing that we've got to open with is, what is a goblin? And I want to ask to the three other people here, what is a goblin to you?
Ooh.
So a goblin to me is a small, green, impish creature. Generally carrying around a mace or a club of some sort. Definitely mischievous and has like a loincloth, maybe greasy too, slimy, disgusting.
Okay. And Tom from MySpace, was it?
Something like that, yeah. I mean, definitely on point with that's an apt description of a potential goblin, but I think the idea of a goblin goes a bit further than just kind of physical appearances and genetic makeup. I think it really deals more with the lifestyle that one chooses to live. So a person could be a goblin.
Yeah.
And what's the math statements like? You know, like you're talking statistics. You know, not all people are goblins, but all goblins are people.
I think I can get behind that. And I guess, Giorgio, you already know the answer, so... It's a grotesque,
disagree.
spriter elf that is mischievous or malicious towards people.
Oh, so I was pretty on the nose with that.
But let's go even further. Here's some photographs of some goblins. You can see some of my favorite goblins in
I
this
see John
photograph.
Goblicon there. Good choice.
Yeah,
What is that small creature with the circle around it? Is that a real goblin?
it's a real goblin caught on camera.
Wow.
That's pretty crazy.
Where'd you get that?
I found it from some Mexican guy. But where do they come from? The word goblin first appears in the 14th century, but it exists in older forms, first being goblin, and goblin first appears in Ambroise of Normandy's Guerre Sainte from around 1195. But it goes even further back in the word gobelinus. Gobelinus was recorded by English chronicler Orderic Vitalis before 1141. He used the word to describe a demon that had been haunting the countryside of Normandy. And what's actually interesting about this is that historians almost unanimously agree that Vitalis was a 100% accurate source of information. He was reliable and accurate. And if he's saying that there was a goblin, and historians are saying, hey, we trust this guy, I don't know what to think of that. But it goes even further back. So if we're talking about how old this thing is, in German it's the kobold, in French the gobel, in Welsh koblin, medieval Latin kabalis, and Greek gobelis. And imps are technically goblins because imp didn't refer to a demon till the 17th century.
So what was this definition of imp prior to the 17th century?
It just meant a small mischievous creature, and as we saw, the definition of goblin is a mischievous creature, a creature that is mischievous or malicious towards people.
So you would say that the word imp and goblin were synonymous.
Yes, until newer definitions
Prior
of
to
imp.
17th century.
Yeah, of course, of course.
And also, goblet is a term used to describe female goblins.
Oh,
That's a
yeah.
pretty cute goblin you got there. I'm gonna be honest with you.
And these two artworks are from a Ronin dude on DeviantArt, and somebody named Apps made this one.
Oh,
But there's types of goblins. The hobgoblin. They're known as the spirit of the home, and they were believed to be helpful creatures until Christianity claimed that they were evil. They're relatives to the brownie, which a brownie technically isn't a goblin, and you'll understand what it means after the last line here. But
Can you?
yeah, what's the question?
I'm just. They're actually called brownies.
Yes, they're very similar to a hobgoblin, except for the brownie is a very happy and helpful spirit that'll do chores for you. And the hobgoblin may do chores for you, but the hobgoblin also will prank you. He'll say for example, he'll sweep the floor, but then he'll bury the broom out back or something.
Okay.
And then their appearance is they're small, hairy men, and they have brown skin and bulging eyes, and in some depictions they have bat-like noses.
See, my issue here is the brown skin, because I know for a fact the hobgoblins can be a permutation of a standard, green fantasy goblin.
Well, the green fantasy goblins weren't green until the last 100 years or so. A goblin just meant literally a goblin could have just been a small man who had a gross face. It doesn't have to be green.
So can you? I'm sorry, I didn't know if we were finished with that topic. Can you give me your insights, Giorgio, on the common hob, pictured there on the right-hand side?
Not really. He's just a little fantasy guy. He looks pretty cute though. Looks kind of like a bat.
pig.
Yeah, he looks more like a high
Inside.
fantasy variant
He's wearing one
compared to
shoe.
the one in the middle looks much more of a traditional goblin.
The one on
He's
the
got
left
Crayola
is the
hair, though.
depiction of Puck, who some people argue whether or not he was a hobgoblin or a fairy. But I put him there anyway because some people do say Puck was a hobgoblin.
He looks more like a satyr.
But that one in
Yeah.
the center resembles some people I know in real life. So I could see him, being a real thing.
Wait, it looks like he has a crayon too
Oh.
in the middle.
That's for sure Crayola.
Yeah, no,
Yeah.
this one's also got crowns.
Why
I don't
do they just
understand.
like crayon?
He's gonna go right on the walls or something.
Well, they
I believe
could eat
the-
that for nutrients. I think it's got green in it.
That's pretty.
You guys ready for
honest.
the next one?
Yes.
Yeah.
The red cap. They're evil, murderous creatures, and they like to live
That's a
in
bit
caves and
assumption,
castles,
isn't it?
particularly ones where horrific events took place. So they're kind of like minions. The red hats are dyed in the blood of their victims, and some stories actually say they leave good fortune and are basically just brownies. But most depictions
so-
are they are monsters.
Wait,
So they're wearing hats.
Yes, they all have hats. They all have red hats that are dyed in blood.
Like what kind of a dunce cap, like pointy, or
Uh,
like a base?
A lot of depictions are pointy, yeah. But they're short and they have long teeth, and at the ends of their long fingers are birds' talons.
ooh.
Ooh.
And here's some pictures of a
That's
red cap.
Why does the one on the far right look like it's from Sherwood Forest?
It might be a Sherwood dungeon.
Or Sherwood Dungeon.
I like the one with the Skype there. He's got some interesting geometry going on.
I like
there
his
with the hand.
fingers.
He
Yeah.
definitely has a powerful Slav squat, though. Oh no, it's not a Slav
But
squat because
see,
he's not
my
Slav.
issue with him is, okay, I know the definition of goblin. We're talking not fantasy green, but that's clearly a gnome.
Yeah, they
That's
do.
That's
Well, a gnome can be a goblin because it's just going to be a grotesque sprite or elf that is mischievous and malicious towards people. The big thing that separates a gnome and a goblin is their attitude towards humanity, I guess. But
So it's like, are you a midget who's helpful or a midget?
Well, these ones are
who's, like,
murderous.
deep?
these guys.
But
Oh.
good luck. That was one of the points. Good luck.
One thing that they'll do is because they live in castles or caves, right? It's raining, you want to get inside, you want to get some shelter, and they'll just start chucking rocks at your head.
Well, you shouldn't be entering an abandoned castle. That clearly is not actually abandoned. It belongs to someone or
And
whoever
Where?
chose to have
there's an important slide after this, and it's how to defeat a red cap.
it.
Okay.
Ooh.
They
I
cannot
need
be
to know.
physically harmed. To defeat one, you must use scripture or a crucifix. And when they're defeated, they'll screech and vanish into flames. They leave behind a tooth once defeated, so they got the long teeth. You have like a real long goblin tooth after you kill it.
What about false teeth? Like gold teeth.
I mean, if they have one, I guess they could potentially leave it behind.
It leaves behind its full grill.
Yeah.
The like very end of it sounds like a lot kind of how some cultures interpret demons, to be honest. The last 3 points right
But yeah, where you have to defeat one using scripture or a crucifix. They can't be harmed.
Yeah,
It's like
they screech and then vanish into flames. That like particularly
That just sounds very
sounds
demonic.
reminiscent of a demon.
Well,
Yeah.
you saw the little fellas.
The next type of goblin is a tie with another goblin that's my favorite, but we'll get to like the other one and when we talk about goblins and other cultures. With a Trusgu, they're very hard to get rid of and very arrogant. They're best known from Asturian mythology, despite their origins being Celtic and Roman. They'll go through the house at night moving things and making noise, and if treated poorly, they'll break things and spook livestock. But if you treat them good, they might do some household chores. And the big thing that separates them from some other goblins we'll talk about later is, so typically goblins who inhabit a house stay in that house and they stick to the house, whereas the Trusgu will follow you no matter where you go. And they're like their appearance is very important with how to get rid of them. They're tiny men who walk with a limp. They have dark skin and a hole in their left hand. They're sometimes described as having horns, a tail, sheep ears, and long legs. So here's some pictures of Trusgus.
Okay.
I like these creatures.
Yeah, and like I said, very difficult to get rid of, and we're going to go over how to get rid of one. You must give them an impossible task or quest, because they're so arrogant they think they can complete anything. And if they can't complete it, they'll just get embarrassed and leave. And some examples are scooping water with their hand because they have the hole in it, picking up flour off the floor, or turning a black sheep white.
Ah.
But
See,
it's kind of mean
I
when you
could
think
see them
about it.
doing those examples, however.
Well, the water just goes out of their hand because they gotta like scoop a big scoop of water. It's just
Well, yeah, but they can get creative. They've got
Oh
sides
yeah,
of hands.
it's just fantasy. Or is it? But let's just say, okay, I'm gonna propose a question. So I'm gonna propose this to Tom. Based on what you said about goblins earlier, how you said that they could be humans represented as like a disgusting human could be represented as a goblin. So like what kind of people do you think would represent this kind of creature?
Well, main thing I think here is the arrogance for sure. I think it's not who is this, but how can we avoid becoming this, because this is kind of just the fall of man here is becoming so arrogant that we eventually let that get in the way of completing our tasks. That's how I'm reading into this, so I'm thinking that we could be these people.
May I inquire about the Trescu?
You don't have to be so formal.
I would like to draw comparisons between the Trescu and the Incel, the modern day Incel.
Yeah?
Their impossible task is, finding love from a woman or sexual intercourse from a woman, and their arrogance and cockiness plays heavily into their person, similar to the Trescu.
Yeah, I could definitely see a relation like that.
They
Just
also have
like-
holes in their hands.
A stigmata.
That's true.
So you guys are ready for the next slide?
I think we are.
Reminder! Goblet is a term used to describe female goblins.
Important stuff, don't forget it.
Don't forget it.
Of course.
Now, goblins and other cultures. The Duende. They are mischievous spirits that inhabit a house, The word duende is a contraction of the phrase dueño de casa, meaning possessor of a home. Mexican folklore says they live in walls and help children clip their toenails, often leading to the accidental removal of toes. However, some believe that the duende isn't actually linked to a house. The Portuguese think they live in the forest and lure children away from their homes. And some Latin American cultures believe the opposite, that they actually guide the lost through the forest. And in the Philippines, it's believed their color dictates whether they're good or evil, black or white. Now, I'm not getting into that one. But their appearance is they're small, and they tend to wear hats. And their skin color seems to be different. And some portrayals look more like a garden gnome than a goblin. Here's some pictures of a duende.
Gnomes coming in again. That's
They help children clip their toenails?
Yes. In Mexico.
These look like the type of fellas that I can imagine in Mexico helping kids clip their toenails.
I don't see them being forest dwellers at all.
Maybe this one here. You can see him living in a tree. This guy's definitely clipping your toenails.
Yeah, that guy is...
I would let him.
That guy is doing something malicious to my toenails.
Yeah, so... The Pukwuji, my bad.
Are we gonna show some of the duende clip?
Oh, we could. I don't know if you can insert them into Google Slides. You may have been able to. So...
I have no idea, but some are just really funny.
Yeah, definitely.
I want to see some videos here. I don't know about you guys.
Oh, we could play videos at the end, I guess, right?
Oh yes.
Because a lot of them are kind of the same, whether you look up for like a duende or a goblin. So just
Or
at the end, we'll
Pukwuji.
just play general videos. But
Maybe we could find some goblet videos.
the Pukwuji, their name literally just means little wild man of the woods that vanishes. They're Native American in origin and come from the Delaware and Wampanoag tribes. It's believed that they used to be friendly, and they'll harass anyone they dislike. And even the Native Americans believe you just avoid them at this point. Like, there is no good left in those people. And they can vanish, just out of nowhere. And they're dangerous. They're known to kidnap, use magic, poison, blind you, and then they'll even lure you and push you to your death, and use weapons such as spears and knives to attack you. Now I'm getting... Okay, this is the appearance slide. The pictures were a little rough. From what I've read, they're just little people. But a lot of, like, art that I've found of them always shows them with porcupine quills. So I'm not really sure what they look like. So these are just possible appearances.
Interesting.
So,
Any one of
Seeing
these
the
could
one
be
there.
accurate.
I'm seeing the one on the left and the right there, and those seem pretty Pukwuji.
I'm looking at the one in the middle right now. That's the one that's really getting me. Let's not skim over what we're clearly seeing here.
But it's like, it's weird because with a lot of them, it's like, this is exactly what they look like. But this one, there's pictures anywhere from just a short man to like porcupine men. So I don't know what they are.
I feel like those are pretty accurate representations of a Pukwuji.
The Mookie.
I mean, why do they have the quills? That's what I'm thinking, you know?
I don't know.
Well, what are the quills for? Are they a defense mechanism? Are they to attack? What is the representation of the quills? That's what I want to know here.
I definitely would have to believe that it would be for defense.
But
no,
look
you
at
know-
how it's holding a child's skull, it looks like.
One thing
Yeah.
I do find interesting is that they were believed to be nice. So maybe the story could be something like they were nice when it was the natives here, but when we got here, they started to get angry and upset because like we defiled the land almost.
Oh,
You know, there's
Yeah.
definitely some ties there.
that's definitely reminiscent of the old Native American story of the rabbit and the porcupine. And I feel like that could play part into the Pukwuji's appearance
Yeah, like
traditionally,
so. Are we ready for the next one?
of course.
That's a big, chunky fella.
The
So,
Mookie.
that's all I want to say.
Looks very pregnant.
There's somewhere between that really threw me off. Just like he does look pregnant too, but there's somewhere between like dwarves and goblins, and they come from the central Andes. They're just like tiny miner men, and they have very deep voices. And it's said that they can take the form of animals or blonde men to deceive the miners. And they're small and brawny. And an important thing to notice, They have no necks and their eyes are like
that's terrifying.
reflective. So like a 2 foot tall man with no neck and reflective eyes. And because they have massive feet, they walk like ducks. And they do, some accounts say they have horns, some don't. And here's some pictures of the Mookie.
Oh, wait. I mean,
Is the one on the far right there pictured with a pint of ice cream?
I'm not sure, but there wasn't a lot of images, so I used that one.
now what's the whole miner thing here? You know, that there's definitely a reason for the theme. You know,
What's-
are these like the lost? Are these some miners that were lost and never recovered? Are they the dead coming back?
Well, what's interesting, that's actually interesting, is so the places that it said that they were, like, all throughout the Central, too far, the Central Andes is Bolivia, Peru, Ecuador, and Colombia. Like, the mining camps that are in those areas are really far spread out. And before, like, telephones or anything, all of these mines had reports of these creatures. Like, without there being a way for the other miners to communicate, every single one of these mines developed a story of a very similar creature.
See, so initially when we were going through this slide, I was zoned out partially, and I thought you meant minors, as in minors, and
Oh, yeah?
thought we were wading into some dangerous territory. But
Yeah, this isn't a game, buddy. Keep your head up.
So, are we ready for the next one?
of course, absolutely.
Now, this is the one that's tied with...
Wait, I have one more.
Wait.
No,
Hold
yeah,
on.
we got some more about that.
There's a lot to unpack here. You can't just tell me that fact and then try to move on.
Oh, okay. About the, like, because every single mining
Absolutely.
camp
So, 'cause
had a
now,
story about
more
these
questions
guys.
popped up. You know, are these things native to South America? Are they created in these mines in South America? Are they in the mines outside of South America? What's going on here? Where are
Something
they
that's
from?
interesting
What's
is
the origin?
a lot of goblin stories are centered around mines and caves. And we'll get into that later when we get into modern sightings. Like, they like mines and caves in a lot of these stories, even in literature, which we'll get into a couple of literature examples as well. I don't really know what it means.
Just like some random thought is how people who had worked in mines for long times would like develop distorted backs, especially like they would get super hunched over and stuff, and like have really bad lungs, and just like their whole body was like really disgusting pretty much. So I wonder if that has anything to do with it.
The reflective eyes could have just been blindness.
Yeah,
Yeah.
definitely.
The thing with all these types of symbolic figures, or just figures in general, is that they tend to be symbolic. And you know what? I think it's very spot on with the observations of the effects of working in a mine. You know, I think these goblin stories were passed around to kind of warn of the dangers of overworking. You know, it's kind of a fun way to pass that tale down.
And before you go to the next slide, I would like to say that also about the reflective eyes, it could be the low light and the reflection, you know, the minor light sources found in a mine that could be reflecting on the miners' frail, brittle bodies and the darkness of the mine.
Yeah, you know those mole children that are born in caves? You know, they have fucked up eyes because they're born in caves. So
Like Harlequin babies, Progerians, all got the fucked up eye
you know,
I
Yeah.
mean,
going on.
on a serious note, like back in the day, people with conditions like that may have just been seen as goblins.
That is true. I mean, I look
Yeah.
at a Progerian in today's time and somehow get the feeling of a goblin.
I get the feeling of Chicken Little.
Little chicken boy.
But you guys ready for the next one? Because this one is tied with the Trusgu for being my favorite, I think.
yeah, we can
The
see what-
Dokubi. It comes from Korean folklore. They're known to possess objects, either tools or things stained with human blood. They're believed to be mostly harmless, and they are extremely skilled wrestlers. They're known to challenge strangers on the road, and they cannot be beaten unless their right side is exploited. However, in some stories, they only have one leg, so you just hook the leg and push them. So I don't know how they can be extremely
fuck 'em.
skilled wrestlers and only have one leg.
Have you ever faced one of these in hand-to-hand combat?
No, but I hope to.
I mean,
I don't think you know what you're asking for.
yeah, I think we're really underestimating the power of the goblins here. They definitely like, okay,
But I know their
one
weaknesses.
leg, and they're known throughout the lands as skilled wrestlers. Like, don't
Just
fuck
be-
around.
I don't know.
sleep on 'em.
But
Just
how are...
because you know something's weakness doesn't take away from the fact that it is a highly skilled, trained wrestler.
Right.
If
Like,
he
you
has
know-
one leg, you just hook the leg and push him.
Let's think about this. Let's think about
But
this.
he's got
I know
arms.
This is Korean. This is Korean, not Japanese. But I'm just gonna talk about sumo. Like, what if a midget entered a sumo competition? Then, like, it would be so hard to fight him because he would be so small, and he'd just
His
like
center of gravity is
run
way.
under your legs.
The story's
Yeah,
about
he'll
to
just
get
die for your
wilder,
leg.
though. Because
And just because he has one leg does not mean he does not have the capability of a prosthetic leg or a peg leg.
Well,
Oh,
he's not
yeah,
gonna use a
peg leg.
prosthetic, you know.
A peg leg would be sick.
can we continue this
Oh,
conversation after we go over the appearance? Because it's about to get wilder. So they're,
Alright.
in all
It'll
accounts,
get
they're
further.
extremely skilled wrestlers. But in some accounts, they don't even have physical bodies. They're just ghosts.
Well, that changes the playing field a bit.
It's it's definitely a curiosity of mine to understand how a ghost would only have one leg.
I don't know. Ask the
If you were
Koreans.
wrestling a ghost, that would be hard because it wouldn't have a physical body.
It's got like
They
yeah,
just
like
fall-
it's just you're going right through its ethereal form, you know.
But the one thing that, like, all of the depictions are, like, completely different, and they just all have the same name for some reason. But in almost all depictions, they have, like, little tusk-like teeth. And here's some varying pictures.
Could you give me a moment? My screen share is loading before
Yeah,
we.
we're waiting for us to focus in here. Okay, we can see it now. Okay, man, see, I like the one picking his nose there. He's showing you the.
He's a
spirit of
wrestler.
The, what are these? The Dokabi? Is that
The
how you
Dokubi.
pronounce
It might be Dokabi.
Either or, but you know he's shown the real confidence there. You know he doesn't care how people perceive him. He doesn't care how his friends perceive him in this situation. He's doing what he wants to, and that's picking his nose in that image. So you better be careful. He
I
will
could take
strike.
the middle one, though.
I don't think so, man.
I don't think we can take any of them.
No.
I-
Also, I'm looking at the photo on the right side, and they both are pictured having two legs.
Yeah.
Yeah, what the fuck?
It's not in all depictions. Some say they only have one leg, and some say they have two legs, and some
That's
don't even
pretty
say they
good
have
thing.
legs at all. They're a ghost.
Well, Gus can have like a leg or two.
And this one, look at how big he is compared to the town.
Oh yeah. Oh, you think
Oh,
you
yeah,
can
you-
wrestle that?
I
You
can't
think
wrestle
you're-
that. I can wrestle
No,
this guy.
that's all.
For
You can't
sure,
wrestle the far right either.
the guy in the middle of this one, the guy in the
These
middle of the
ones
middle, I
honestly
could take
seem
him.
A lot more
These ones seem fucking
Yeah.
terrifying.
You know,
I
they
could care.
remind me of Raijin, actually.
Ethan, these depictions have truly haunted me to the core.
They
But,
definitely look like trickster types.
yeah, tricksters. Now, one thing that's interesting is actually the significance of goblins in Korea. I'm pretty sure goblins are actually a very, significant part of folklore in Korea. I know they have a drama called Goblin that's pretty poppin', so
Are you ready for the next slide?
yeah.
The Gudro Bonga. Gudro means small and Bonga means demigod. They're worshipped as demigods by the Santhal tribe of Bengal. And despite these people, they'll put up with them stealing babies, all because they believe that they have secret treasure. So they worship them like gods. They let them take their children because they think they have treasure hidden somewhere that they're going to give them eventually.
Sounds like our government.
But they've been worshipping them for hundreds of years, letting them steal babies, thinking one day they're going to give me some treasure.
Well,
I
if they're
agree
a
with
small
Tom.
demigod.
And I can't find any pictures or descriptions of what these guys look like.
Hey, I got a picture for you. His name, Bernie Sanders.
Bernie Sanders is the Gudro Bonga.
His secret treasure is socialized
No,
healthcare.
it's Andrew Yang.
Reminder. Are you
We
ready
want
for-
that $1,000.
You ready for a reminder, guys?
Absolutely.
Goblet is a term used to describe female
Don't you
goblins.
fucking forget it.
How could I forget?
Goblins in literature / fairy tales. A lot of these are long. I tried to shorten them down as much as I could, because the first one is a novel that I have summarized, and it's long. The Princess and the Goblin by George MacDonald, and there's actually a cartoon movie based upon the book. So, but this Princess Irene, she lives with her nursemaid Lukey. I don't know, I didn't name her, but her father's not really around. The king's busy with other stuff, and for some reason, the nursemaid's like, "Let's go play in a mine or something," and then they get attacked by goblins, and they're saved by a miner named Curdy. And Curdy eventually learns the secret weakness to the goblins in this mine, that they have extremely soft feet. And when he's like listening in to figure out that they have soft feet, he also hears that they're going to flood the mine, and that they've got some other secret plan. And if it fails, then they flood the mine. And Irene goes to see her great grandmother after being saved by Curdy, and she gives her a magic ring that's like connected to home by an invisible thread. And but for some reason, despite that being the description of the ring, she can somehow connect the string to other people eventually. I don't know. And Curdy keeps exploring down underground with the goblins. If he finds them, he stomps on their feet, and eventually he finds the queen of the goblins. But he can't stomp her feet because she wears stone shoes. And so he's locked in prison, going to starve to death. But Irene's ring leads her to save him. And this is a detail in the book that is never brought up again. He steals one of the queen's shoes, only one of them, and it's never brought up again.
Cinderella type thing, maybe.
I'm just excited for the pictures of said goblin feet. Goblet?
There wasn't really. I showed the 2 pictures of the covers at the start. You want to go back and look at those again?
Can we talk about this feet thing?
I don't get it.
The feet are not.
It doesn't make sense.
Depicted.
They would have
I
soft,
really want them to.
right?
No. I mean, the Mookie has really large, flat feet because he walks like a duck.
But they won't be soft, especially if you live in a mine. You're going to adapt to your environment. You're running around stone all day. You're gonna have hardened, calloused feet. That's just a fact of it. And I don't like that detail of their weakness is their feet. That's their strength, buddy.
So eventually, when Irene saves him, she takes him to go see her great grandmother, but for some reason, the great grandmother's only visible by Irene. Curdy later learns he goes back to the mine after being saved, and learns that their plan is actually to kidnap the princess and force her to marry Goblin Prince Hairlip. And so Curdy goes to warn the guards, and they're like, "Oh, he's crazy, throw him in the brig." And so he gets locked into prison again. But this time he escapes as soon as as the goblins are breaking in, and he goes around stomping feet, saving the day, and then the goblins retreat because they're like, "This guy, he's just a real foot stomper." And everybody thinks Irene was kidnapped by the goblins that they lost, but Curdy knows to follow the invisible thread to find her, and finds her in his house for some reason. And so he returns her to the king, and the king asks him to serve as a royal bodyguard. But he refuses, and he says he needs to stay with his parents. And for saving the day, he gets a red coat for his mother. And that's the end of the story. I don't really...
That's fucking lame.
It's really lame and anticlimactic, but it's like the most famous Goblins book, and it's got a cartoon movie. And it doesn't make any sense. It doesn't align with Goblin mythology. It's fiction. I'm sorry, guys.
Well, that's the thing, though. The thing with fiction is, fiction is based in reality. This story was created with a purpose in mind. They want to convey some message, and my question is, what is that message?
There is a theme that goes along with almost all of these Goblin stories that I'll get to after I go over them, and I think it's the message that George MacDonald was going for. So, let's go to the Goblin Pony. It's a French fairy tale, and it can be found in the Grey Fairy book by Andrew Lang and Lenore Blanche Alien. I don't know how to say that. And here's a picture of the kids on a goblin pony. I don't know how it's a goblin. They just called it the Goblin Pony, so it's a goblin story.
Well, I mean, if it's a what was mischievous, impish creature.
So I guess it's a small goblin. A pony's a small horse, so...
There you go.
It's Halloween night, and a young boy wants to see the girl that he likes. And he's warned by an old woman named Peggy, do not go outside. Halloween night, ghouls, goblins, and witches be afoot. Don't care. Goes out anyway. And on his way to the girl's house, he sees a horse that he's like, oh, that's old man Jenkins' pony. I'm gonna hop on it and ride it back, you know. Got out of the pen. And as he gets on it to take it home, horse doesn't listen at all. And it just starts running off on its own. And the boy can't get off. And in the story in the Grey Fairy book, it does this multiple time where children keep getting on it. But I'm just going over the main boy. And he can't get off the pony. And then it runs him into the sea and drowns him. So
Now
That's
is
a
what
goblin story.
that's definitely a goblin story.
Definitely has the essence of goblinism to it.
But in the full story, it's like, it's a really long story. Kids keep getting on the horse. And for some reason, I don't know why the main boy's not like, hey, don't get on this horse. For some reason, I can't get off of it.
It never crosses his mind.
The Goblin of Adachigahara. It's found in the
See,
Japanese fairy
This is some
book
real goblin stuff right here, I can tell.
by Ye Theodora Ozaki. And it is by far the most, I guess, accurate goblin story out of these fairy tales.
It's got the vibe to it, I believe it 100%. Look at
And
that.
let's get into it. Long ago, there was a plain called Adachigahara. It was haunted by a cannibal goblin who took the form of an old woman. So, a cannibal goblet, my bad. From time to time, travelers would go missing here, and it was always believed that the missing people were lured into the goblin's cottage and devoured. Because apparently, this goblin can only live off of human flesh. Nothing else sustains her. So, no one would go anywhere near this area like after sunset. If it was dark, you avoided it. And even if you could go around it during the day, you would. This is an area you did not want to go to. And the main story in this fairy tale is of a monk who's going through this area late at night, and he stops at an old woman's house to rest. And he figures out it's not safe. Like, he finds like skulls and blood all over like the bathroom basically. And he's like, I'm getting out of here, boy. And he starts running. And as he runs out, he's being chased by the old woman. And the thing that ends up saving him is the sun rising. The sun rises, and she just disappears.
Go back to the eyeballs of the minor goblins. They don't like the sunlight.
Yep.
They're in the mines all
It
day.
had been a, what were they? They were referred to as the Mookie?
Yeah, the Mookie were the minor goblin.
Mookie.
And in this, you can kind of, the picture's really low quality. I couldn't really find a high quality version of it, because it's the picture from the book.
You know?
Yeah.
He looks monkish.
Yeah, like he's a nice guy.
The background's goblinish.
Yeah, I
He's
can definitely see
running.
the form of a goblin somewhere in the background.
And she's got a knife as well in the story. She like tries to gut him.
Well, you know, you gotta do what you gotta do. Use your tools.
The Goblins at the Bathhouse. This is an Estonian story that can be found in a book
Now,
of.
Does this have goblets?
It does not. Well, it does actually have an old woman goblet, but it's in a book of ghosts and goblins by Ruth Manning Sanders, and this picture here is from a vinyl of like basically an audiobook version of it. But you can see like nice little artwork of like the old man goblin. You got the grandma goblet.
I like how fresh their fits are.
Yeah, they're high fashion.
They're draped in Rick Owens.
But
Definitely like a little bougie.
it takes place in a bathhouse for old people, and working at this bathhouse is a young girl who's adored by the old folks. And one night she's busy. It was a real busy night, and she's cleaning up after all the old people have left, after she's bathed a litany of old men. And she hears a horse-drawn carriage outside. And the carriage is a golden carriage drawn by 2 massive black horses. And 5 goblins step out of the carriage. An old man, an old woman, and 3 young boys. And as soon as the girl saw it, she made a crucifix with her fingers, and then like shut the door, and that prevented the goblins from entering. And the grandfather goblin, he tells the young girl she has to marry one of his grandsons, and she tells him that she can't marry anybody because she doesn't have the right clothes or shoes. And the grandfather goblin then offers, I'll get you what you need, but once I get it, you're marrying one of my boys. And so at this point, a talking mouse comes up to her. Out of nowhere, just the mouse comes out and says, hey, stall them until dawn. Everything will work out, alright? And so she begins to list the items that she needs very slowly, like one at a time. Like, I need a gold dress. I need silver shoes. I need diamond head dress. Like, really slow like that, one at a time. And after she listed the first item, the grandmother told the three sons, "You must race, and whoever gets to the item first gets to marry the woman." And the youngest one was actually the fastest. There's like, and they do this like several times. Like the story is a lot longer than it needs to be.
Right.
But after going through all of the items, you know, she gets the gold dress, the silver shoes, the diamond head dress. She has to step outside. I mean, she got the items. You can't lie, even if it's to a goblin. But when she does get outside, she says that carriage is way too expensive. She only rides on hay. She's not hoity-toity like that. And the grandfather goblin starts to get angry at this point, and because there's no hay around, like why would a goblin be carrying hay, right? And so the grandmother goblin, to scout out some hay, tears her eyes out of the socket and throws them in the air to spot hay miles away. And the fast grandson was able to do it. But as he gets back with the hay, you can kind of see the sun rising on the horizon. And so they rush to spread the hay around, and after they think they're done, the grandfather goblin grabs the girl, and this is a quote from the book. "Get in, you hussy."
Well, she's being kind of a cunt.
And
I mean, they're being pretty nice in this story, to be
the
honest.
goblins are being really accommodating, but she then again puts her foot down, pulls back, doesn't let him pull her in, and she points out a single piece of hay that they dropped, and so that she can't get in the carriage till the piece of hay is in the carriage. So the grandfather goblin gets back out, puts the hay back in, and then she says, "I won't get in until all of you are in." Like, the girl's kind of the bad guy here.
Yeah.
And so the goblins get in. They get in first, and as they do, the sun rises, and they all just disappear while screeching. I guess in this story, they're kind of allergic to the sun. Same thing with the goblin of Adachigahara. Like, they can't be in sunlight.
They don't like
And after the goblin disappears, the mouse comes back and says, "Take me to your house, and I will find you a prince to marry."
That's sketchy.
Yeah, you're going to trust a talking mouse over green men? I mean,
Rich goblins.
rich goblin, golden carriage.
And they're like fucking kind. They're like,
Got her a gold, and she got to keep the gold dress, the silver shoes, a diamond head dress. Like,
she's fucking balling. No, okay, I get it though. It's like, you know, they're very demanding. Like, you must marry my daughter.
But back in the days in this
that's
story,
how
the
marriage
book
worked,
played,
though, and like,
You know, yeah, that is how it works.
I mean, you know.
And that's like a good fucking, like what are you gonna get 3 hens for a fucking, for a
Well,
kitty?
if you think about it, like relating it to the ethos of current culture, everybody is just marrying and fucking and sucking for the money. So I mean, why couldn't you just marry a goblin boy, have nothing to do with him, and reap the benefits?
You know, I think they, in the end, reaped the benefits. You know, they saw a wicked heart and they ran.
Honestly,
you know.
facts, brother, power.
And the moral of the stories with the first 3: don't be stupid, and you don't have a problem with goblins. In the Princess and the Goblin, they would have never encountered the goblins if she didn't go and play in the mine. In the Goblin Pony, would have never been a problem if a boy he sees a random horse in the middle of the night on Halloween, and he's like, "Yeah, I'll hop on." In the third one, why are you going in a stranger's house? And the fourth one is that you should listen to mice.
Well, okay, going to a stranger's house, though, you gotta think of the context. You know, he's a traveling monk, he's wary, doesn't know the valley.
I guess he didn't know
Need to rest.
the story about the plains of Adachigahara. I mean, he didn't know.
Yeah, and if you don't know, you can't blame someone for not knowing.
And
That's
as soon
how
as he
victims
saw the
get.
skulls, he got out. He got out.
Exactly.
He was
that
done.
guy is a quick thinker, quick on his feet, too. You know, kudos to him.
He ran. He got out.
You know, I guess in the end, he's the real winner. Reminder.
All weird horses.
Goblet is a term used to describe female goblins.
You know?
Thank God, that was about to slip my mind.
And the point of all of this, goblins are as old as time. They go back forever. and every single culture on the planet has a story about goblins. Like everybody on the planet, like every single culture, they have goblins. And like at the beginning, we traced it back at the beginning there to like an ancient Greek word for goblin. Like, and not all of those stories are ancient. Reminder: goblet is a term used to describe female goblins.
Don't know how many times I gotta say it, but hey.
So modern sightings. I picked 2 modern sightings, like in specific, that are loosely connected. And the first one is regarded as the most well-documented UFO case in history. And by definition, an alien could be a goblin, because the definition was a grotesque sprite or elf that is mischievous or malicious towards people. And I mean, a sprite or elf, if we're going to go to the definition of them, are just small people.
Definitely can be extraterrestrial, nothing.
Yeah. Like, a goblin could be extra or ultra-terrestrial. There's nothing stopping that. So, August 21st, 1955, 5 adults and 7 children went to the Hopkinsville police station. They were claiming to be harassed by aliens that came out of a spaceship.
That's silly.
For nearly 4 hours, they held the creatures at bay with gunfire. 4 city police, 5 state troopers, 3 deputy sheriff, and 4 military police went to the residence, and they claimed they found no evidence other than gunshot damage to the house. But when the family returned, they packed up everything and left. They did not stay there another night after that. And the neighbors claim that the goblins returned that night at 3:30 a.m. So, more like 11 people in the house claim they saw it. The neighbors saw it, and there was a UFO sighting above the town that almost everybody in the town unanimously agreed that they saw the UFO. And I saw somebody in the chat say something, and I'm not even going to talk about that, okay? Don't talk to me, because the official report is that it was a bunch of owls, which there's police sketches, and this is what I'm going to go into what Jerome Clark found when he went to the residence.
Owls hunt in packs, do they?
Excuse me, what? I didn't hear.
Owls don't hunt in packs, or like
No,
travel.
and if you shoot them, they don't cling like you're shooting a bucket, because Jerome Clark interviewed the family, and they said that the creatures could fly through the air, they could float and hover, and that when the bullets hit their skin, it clanged like metal striking metal. And later, Clark also found a glowing green substance on the fence, roughly where one of them was shot in the stomach, and then the trail, and then the glowing, like the bioluminescent, whatever you want to call it, trails off into the forest. And it is also possible that was foxfire, in the forest specifically, because in this area of Kentucky there is a fungus that grows that glows at night, and he was over there at night, but he found a glowing green substance spattered like blood right next to one of them was shot. And Clark wrote that investigations from Air Force officers and civilian ufologists showed no signs of a hoax. And then, but Brian Dunnings, another independent reporter, said that the Air Force never investigated this. And he also reported that the military police that were with the cops were Army and not Air Force. And this case is very important because of the number of witnesses and the duration. I mean, this was an all-day event that the neighbors, everybody saw this. But it is important to note that the United States Air Force classified this as a hoax in the Project Blue Book files.
Well,
and
what was that?
I'll go into the Project Blue Book files. I have a quick slide explaining it. I just wanted to show you. These were the police sketches that the family had reported.
Those are definitely goblin-like creatures. I have a quick question though, Ethan, before we really deep dive into these fun little men. I'm taking my notes here, and what was the term used to refer to female goblins?
Goblet.
Okay, thank you.
But
You knew the fucking word, don't you lie to me, boy.
So this is a quick file on Project Blue Book. It was an Air Force operation to assess whether or not UFOs were a threat to national security and scientifically analyze UFO data. And these are declassified files that are publicly out there, that the government accepts that this was a real operation. And we'll go deeper into that when we do an episode on UFOs and aliens, but this was a real operation by the U.S. government to analyze UFO data, and the Air Force believes that this was a hoax, but a lot of the investigators at the time went with the story.
Oh yeah, I have a question about that, actually. Are there any theories as to why the aliens or goblins or whatever targeted that specific area?
There was a UFO above Hopkinsville, and it's believed that they kind of just got lost in the area, and that the reason that they kind of disappeared from Hopkinsville, well, there's two theories about why they left Hopkinsville. That either it came back and picked them up, or they went into a mine that was near the edge of the property of the family.
Maybe there's something there that they don't, that they're trying to harvest or something.
It's possible.
Here's what I want.
And we'll go.
My biggest issue with this whole goblin thing.
Oh, one thing real quick. The reason why I'm saying, like, I don't remember if it was a mine or a cave, but Geraldine Sutton, the daughter of one of the guys who shot the goblins, she claims that there was, I don't remember if it was a cave or a mine at the edge of the property, and that's important, something we're going to get into later.
Alright, I'm just gonna cut in here, because this whole story, it's got one big issue, and that's the fact that this entire story is built on just, like, eyewitness accounts, which we know are the least, like, qualifying accounts you can receive for anything, you know, because memory is just fucking horrible. We have garbage memory. Like, this entire neighborhood can be just off their gourd, you know? It's like, well, why should I believe this story?
The rebuttal to that is the number of eyewitnesses that all account for the same thing. We're talking the 11 people in the farmhouse, both neighbors on both sides, and then the whole town saw what appeared to be a UFO above the town. Oh, I just realized something I forgot in the slides, and when we show videos of duendes and stuff, I'll show the video.
If I may add to Tom from MySpace's point, I mean, Casey Anthony's parents found their dead granddaughter in the back of her car with their own eyes, and still, she got away with it, so...
Are you saying Casey is a goblin?
Casey Anthony is innocent. The American court system is infallible.
We're not defending Casey Anthony here. I don't allow it.
That's next episode.
That's nice.
We'll go into the conspiracy of people who believe Casey Anthony was innocent.
Dude, I'm sure there's a subculture too.
There was at least 7 out of 9 people, I think. So.
Just out there, bro.
Talking about the Hellier thing, there's there's 3 elephants in the room. The documentary is beyond frustrating with the amount of kayfabe, and I don't even know if it could be classified as a documentary, because they'll talk about this really interesting account from a guy who contacted them about goblins in Hellier, Kentucky, and then the next thing they'll talk about is how they're like the center of this big conspiracy involving like a man who's worked for like some like Illuminati-esque government to execute aliens, and how he's the one who led them onto this case. And they're like talking about how a cipher written by Aleister Crowley that this alien executor used to find a Mothman man is useful in the Goblin case. And then the last 2 parts, like the last 2 hours of the documentary, are about like a tin can and IP tracing. It's like beyond frustrating. So I don't even know if you like. I don't know, man. The original account is interesting because of one piece of evidence, and I'll go into it anyway. But take everything in this story with a grain of salt, because honestly, I can't even begin to express how frustrated I get when I think about this movie, because it's 5 hours with like the first hour talking about the Goblin case, and then 4 hours about how they're the center of some grand conspiracy and how they're the most important people on the planet. So
aren't they?
That reminds me of Edict's World.
Edict's World went nuts. Snap killed a couple people.
So the original account is in 2012. A man using the alias David Christie claimed his family was terrorized. I'm losing my mind. I'm sorry. Was terrorized by goblins. And there's a lot of similarities between this story and the Hopkinsville case, which could go 2 ways. It could be, oh, this is accurate to goblin mythology, so it must be true, or he just ripped off the Hopkinsville story, which is an extremely well-documented case. David believes that they came from the abandoned mine at the edge of his property. The first member of his family to see the goblins was his 5-year-old daughter, and she told her parents about the kids who have no hair who were playing in the yard. And, this part seems like raccoons, but, so hearing this, David purchased some motion-activated floodlights in his backyard, and it stopped for a month. But later they returned and scared his daughter to the point where she refused to even go in her own bedroom because they were on the window tapping at night, looking in at her. And a month later, David finally saw them for himself. He was letting his dog out to the bathroom, and he heard something digging through the porch, like a box back on the back of the porch, because they had just moved in here, so they had boxes that were still packed. And something was digging through one of the boxes. It was a gray... there's a typo there. It was a gray creature with large round eyes and a slit for a mouth, but they didn't have ears like the Hopkinsville goblins. And when David saw this, he banged on the window to try to scare it, and it ran to another one that was out further in the yard. And then he noticed another one after that, and there was 5 of these things in total, and they got in like a big group and started chirping like... And David later the next day, he went out to photograph these footprints, and he tried to catch a picture of them at night, but this is the picture he got.
So I'm seeing in the chat here, and I have to agree with Magma Dragoon 56. What is the possibility that David Christie had just never seen a raccoon before?
The footprint is the
hairless.
interesting thing, and the next slide talks about that. Look at it closely, you'll notice these ridges along it, right? Mm-hmm. Those are called dermal ridges. And according to like, I have went all over the internet and found pretty much everything about this. There are Jeff Meldrum, who is one of the leading anthropologists in the world at Idaho University, says they can be faked. But then I forget the guy's name, it's like James Schult or something, who is an extremely like, there's a word I'm looking for here, that a well-praised forensic analyst who says they can't be faked. So there's a very real argument about whether or not dermal ridges can be faked. They're essentially fingerprints on the feet, and you'll notice this has them. This has dermal ridges, and if you want to go further into it, this is something I learned from a lot of people who are into Bigfoot. Is Les Stroud, the Survivor Man? He had a season of his show which was all about trying to fake a Bigfoot sighting, right? And for him to try to attempt to fake dermal ridges, he spent thousands of dollars and still wasn't successful. Like, it's extremely difficult to do. And
David guy, I can tell he's not faking dermal ridges.
What's interesting about this is I 100% believe Greg and Dana Newkirk do not have the money, the know-how, or expertise to fake a footprint like this. And that doesn't mean that the footprint's not fake. I'm just saying this was not faked by Greg and Dana Newkirk. Everything else in their documentary is fake, and they're really annoying people. But I don't think they faked this footprint. I think they found it somewhere, or I think somebody did send this to them. And something else that's interesting is that David mentions the creatures were coming from a mine at the edge of his property. And based on the location of Hellier, it's possible this could be connected to the Mammoth Cave system. The Mammoth Cave system is the largest cave system in the world, and it runs under a large portion of Appalachia, specifically Kentucky. And why this is important is Geraldine Sutton, the daughter of Lucky Sutton, said that there was a cave at the edge of their property, which it's likely that could be connected to the Mammoth Cave system. So, what I'm
is this
suggesting...
like a natural cave or man?
Yes, it is the largest cave system in the world, natural cave system. It's
Okay.
So far it's been over 400 miles explored, and it's not fully explored to this day. And ultimately, they didn't find any new information in this documentary. It's just the original account, and then 4 hours of them talking about how they're very important to the world. And there's another elephant in the room, is why did David contact them? Because Greg was a nobody at the time. In 2012, when he got this first email, literal nobody. Like,
as a resident of the great state of Kentucky, this is deeply concerning. This is terrifying.
But it's... So I said there was two theories involved with the goblins in Hopkinsville and why they disappeared. Either whatever brought them there came back for them, or they've hidden somewhere in the cave, because the caves are not fully explored to this day. Over 400 miles have been explored, and there's still a lot that hasn't been looked into. And if you look at the map, it does connect Hellier and Hopkinsville. And
unless you're a goblin, it's hard to go around those caves. You know.
Something else that's interesting is the exits to these caves. So Cave City, Kentucky, like the center of the cave system, all of the exits are hotspots for various paranormal activity, not just goblins. Like, we're talking Bigfoot, Yetis, like all sorts of monster men, skinwalkers. A lot of like paranormal sightings are around this cave system. Take that however you will. And here's a bunch of pictures from the cave system.
It would be faked in that location then, because they'd be riding off the Bigfoot.
Like I said, take everything in the Hellier story with a grain of salt, because
It's all bullshit so far, but that footprint, you know.
People who know about paranormal investigators will get what I'm saying. I get the vibe that Greg and Dana Newkirk want to be modern day Warrens. Like, the Warrens are like these famous ghost hunters where almost everything that they're involved with has been a hoax. They're the people the Conjuring movies are based on. Almost everything they have done has been certifiably a hoax. And I feel like Greg aspires to be somebody like them.
Yes, I mean, you know.
I'm getting angry thinking about that.
I mean, they make a lot of money probably, so.
Yeah. Reminder. Goblet is a term used to describe female goblins.
Thanks, that one was, forgetting that one.
I guess this is my closing statement, and then we'll watch some videos, since might as well, right?
Well, you gotta watch them. Where's the open discussion?
I guess, what I'll say here is after the closing statement, and like we'll do a Q&A, because there's a few people in the chat, that there will be an audio version of this eventually, not right away, because an RSS feed costs money, but eventually these will be posted, like there'll be an archive somewhere, and so the audio version will probably end when we start watching videos. But my closing statement is, I picked Goblins as like a joke episode topic, right? And I was thinking it's like an easy fairy tale. Like, there's nothing believable about it. But I've done nothing but like get more and more interested the more I've dug into this. And like I will say the generally accepted I guess a tale narrative about Hopkinsville is that people say it was a bunch of horned owls. Like, that's what a scientist who wasn't there at the time, who looked at the data, is like, it's probably horned owls, and that's what everybody goes with. But I don't know. And then a reminder. Goblet is a term used to describe female goblins. And this was
keep that in the good old noggin if you ever forget that.
This is like a Q&A part, so anybody can... This is where we'll read the chat. I know I haven't been reading the chat much. I just wanted to get through the presentation and then do it. Yeah.
Right, so that was...
There's a... Let me find the specific one. There is a compilation that I really like.
Well, yeah, you cue that up while the chat can ask us questions.
Well, there's already one question I'm seeing.
Of the Mexicans finding the goblins.
That's a good one. That's a good video.
I can't stream the audio through Discord, so if you want to hear this, the shrill screams of grown men seeing Mexican goblins. A goblin
tends to be
2 to 4 feet.
I think the average height is 3'5", I want to say.
Yeah, they're not tall. They have to be short to be considered a goblin.
Vern Troyer is actually shorter than the average goblin.
Yeah.
Too soon.
Or I should say he was shorter than the
Yes.
average goblin.
Gary Coleman also shorter than the average.
I heard Gary Coleman fell off the curb and died, dude.
Okay, dragging this over here.
Vern Troyer died from a wine sample.
Oh wait, let me stop the forest noises.
At a wine tasting.
I forgot you had forest.
Yeah. Okay.
I'm gonna go whiskey tasting. How about
So,
that?
we're gonna start the compilation of a Duende's Cot on camera.
Whoa, whoa, whoa,
Look at that.
whoa. Oh my god.
Oh my god.
Oh god, that's oh.
Oh.
If you couldn't see it the first time,
It's
Oh.
hard to notice.
it was really difficult to see.
God, dude, that's terrifying, dude. Imagine seeing that little creature in your house.
You know, this brings up a good point. You know, we don't have a lot of mines
Whoa!
in the
Oh
USA
my
anymore.
God, bro.
Kentucky has a lot, and that's why it's interesting that Kentucky is like where most of these goblin sightings have
You
occurred.
guys see that? Wait, are you guys seeing this?
It looks
Yeah,
like a
it's
dog.
Dude, oh, that makes me sick to my stomach, man.
I love this one. I don't know. Genuinely, like, I was looking into this and like, it feels like, from what I've seen on the internet, a majority of people from Mexico or South America have seen some kind of a goblin. Like, I don't know. I'm speaking anecdotal here, but so many his Spanish speakers have seen goblins.
I believe that in other cultures, more modernized cultures, that a goblin would generally be pushed off as some sort of man-child or piss baby. And in Spanish culture,
I love how
these types of
formal
things
you've
serious.
been through all of this.
Yeah. Okay, you know, why is it the Spanish-speaking countries have all the goblin sightings? I think it definitely has to do with both culture and location.
They're a
you
more
know?
superstitious culture for sure.
Definitely, but I think, you know, if we're going into the nitty-gritty of it, you know, what are we doing here in America? You know, we had a bunch of Chinese people come over and dynamite the hillsides, you know? No goblins surviving the fucking dynamite as we're laying down our railroad tracks, alright?
Also, as another point to Magma Dragoon 58's question, as you can see in the footage in front of us, it seems that the Latino cultures have the technology, high tech enough to capture a goblin on tape. They're generally quick moving and elusive creatures.
Oh, there's another video I want to play after this, to like a point that I forgot to add.
Oh god. Oh, that's a kid, not the goblin.
That'll be a big goblin.
The goblin's in the back on this one.
Yeah, I've seen this one before. It's frightening.
That is a goblin cornered. And his life is
Oh my
threatened.
god. Look at that thing.
Okay, look at the way that moves.
Yeah, like a fucking puppet on a string. It's crazy.
No, that moves too natural, too real. It's a goblin. That's definitely a goblin.
I'm glad we got to see this clip 3 times in this combo.
Yeah, this guy plays him a lot.
Because there's only like 5 sightings they can even put in this.
There's a
Is that-
couple I've seen that aren't in this.
So the thing that
Seem like Goku
youngster threw at the wall, is that a shot? Hold on, I'm captivated by this imagery.
I'm waiting for the gob.
The scream is so good. Oh wait, can you hear it?
No, we are audioless.
Okay, yeah. I can't figure that out on Discord. I'll have to get like digital audio cables or whatever they're called, like voice meter or something like that.
Yes.
I don't need the audio for the terror to be instilled.
Yeah, I understand the implication of the goblin.
I maybe not hearing it, but I can definitely visual or project what I assume to be.
That guy really hurts himself too when he falls over. Like, he just like slams down. Oh, it's back to this one.
Man, you want to know something crazy? I had this this official RuneScape handbook slammed down on my desk earlier. Flipping one of the pages, what do I see? 10 tips for beginners. You'll never guess what tip number 5 is. Goblins are easy targets. Is that coincidence? I think not. I think it's a
Dude,
divine
we were
message.
also
I think it is
making
a
a
farce,
goblin in that game, and I didn't tell you the topic, and it was like, it was some like weird.
It was a goblet first.
Yeah, a goblet. My bad.
I think what the RuneScape handbook had just told you is a farce. It's a completely inaccurate.
Yeah.
Goblins are not an easy target, as you can see in front of us right now. That is
They're frightening. They run in the background of your videos.
that is definitely a powerful and strong figure that could attack even the largest men and get away with it.
You know? See, I want to hear more about the hobgoblins. They didn't get enough recognition.
Dude, there could be a goblin in your room and you wouldn't even know it.
It's terrifying.
Dude, yeah. And
Could also not
Whoa.
be terrifying.
Dude, I think
Honestly, I
we
don't
set
think
ourselves up for failure.
I don't think I'd be scared if I saw a goblin. I'd be like interested almost. Like
Unless it's a red cap. If it's a red
Oh.
cap, I'd be like,
If
oh,
it's a red cap,
you gotta get out.
make a cross with your fingers. Start saying a prayer. Then you'll get to keep one of his
do you
teeth.
have any sample prayers?
I assume just like isn't there like a generic prayer like you say before you go to bed?
I like Hail Marys.
Yeah, there's something like that.
Yeah, I thought you were
Goblins are
going to say
slippery
like you have to
like
start
rats.
talking in Latin.
That's a point.
Seeing how my method of attack for a goblin would be well, as you can see by both of these Latino families are surviving, I would hit it with my chancla, try to squish
Let
it.
me
There
find
you
this.
go. That's the chancla.
So
Chancla.
yeah, this is something I wanted to add to the presentation, but I forgot to. And it's so there was the UFO sighting before the Hopkinsville case, and months before the Hellier case, a UFO sighting that was extremely well documented. And I just want to clarify, when I say UFO, it doesn't mean alien. UFO is just unidentified flying object. A lot of people think that means it's an alien. It doesn't. It could have been anything. They could be ultra-terrestrials, which are alien life forms from our own planet.
Now, I don't want to sound like a zoomer or like I'm too big for my britches, but this man does not seem to know what a glare is.
No, this was also seen all the way in Hellier. This was seen from Illinois to Hellier, Kentucky, and Hellier's on the eastern part of Kentucky. Whatever this was seen all over Kentucky and Illinois.
I mean, I don't know what it is, but
I'm happy that he got the enhanced photos.
it's definitely not extraterrestrial.
No.
That's a fact. It's simply unidentified, as you said, you know?
Yeah.
We don't know. It could be a kite.
But
could
I
be
just
a
find it
weather
interesting
balloon.
that both of these goblin cases happened just after a UFO sighting.
Mm-hmm.
And the guy says in the video there, it doesn't mean it's alien, it's just a UFO till it's identified.
Yeah.
Right. So, yeah. Let's go back to all those goblin stories.
Oh, this is a really good goblin sighting.
Just about quarter
Oh,
to
an
5 and
excited
take a look
fucking
at this
tone.
viral video from
I
the
saw
hunt in
the-
southeastern
Something caught on
Colorado.
camera on Ledger.
All right, Vivian Gomez wrote on Facebook that her security camera captured this on
Yeah.
Sunday morning. There are people on Facebook who say
Is
it
that
looks
the
like
same?
Dobby from Harry Potter or a ghost
I feel like I
from
have so
Alien,
much
or
to
a
say,
kid
but,
flip-flops and
Wait, is
underwear.
that
We
supposed to be
think
the
it looks
goblin?
like Lisa
Yeah.
doing her Sunday
Oh, I
morning.
thought it was just like a
don't know,
little
Lisa, were you
girl
in
or
the
something.
hunt?
That's a little girl with floppy ears and no
The
clothes.
video has been seen by
Well, I
11
just feel like I have a lot to say
million
about
Oh,
this,
really?
yet
Do
all
you
the
feel like
air is
praise?
escaping my
I don't
lungs.
know. It certainly does not look like a creature. Looks
I don't-
human-like. Yeah, right? It's just some like naked black chick or some shit, right?
I don't know
No,
what
that,
it
that
is.
was I go back to run the tape again, please.
Oh, that one again?
I have to talk with Tom from MySpace about this.
Just about quarter to 5 and take a
Now,
look at this
Some
viral
naked
video
black
from
kid.
Hunter in
I know where you could
southeastern
understand that would just be
Colorado.
like a small child,
Alright,
but look at
Vivian
the
Gomez
look
wrote
at the
on
way that
Facebook-
it's walking and the chicken arm movement that it does on the exit near the car there. It's not human. I've never seen a human perform these types of actions or walks before.
Children are inhuman, first of all. Okay, you don't just get them away. All right.
Now,
I don't- shoot.
that is certainly a
They're
supernatural
gross.
or
They're weird. I don't want them near
extraterrestrial
me.
creature. That creature is not of this earth. Look at the chicken arm. Look at the chicken arm movement again. It's
I did the chicken dance when I was in second grade. It's not proving anything.
but that is, he's not doing the chicken dance. Nobody
that's
does one
that's a
arm.
chicken dance movement with arms right there.
Nobody does just one part of the chicken dance and doesn't do a
That's the
following
most
part.
fun part of the chicken dance.
I'm going to
I can
interject.
assure you, I would not do the full chicken dance because I had to do that in front of my school when I was in first grade, dude. I don't fuck with the chicken
I'm
dance.
going to be honest. I don't think it's a goblin. I think it's a brownie.
I don't like that.
That's certainly too short to be a hobgoblin.
Also, Bartana, are you implying that the finger touches, the box noises, is not the most fun part of the chicken dance?
So this is
it's flapping your arm.
I opened up the brownie. It's a brownie.
Every time you say it. The butt shaking is also a very solid point of a good.
Wait,
than the flapping.
I'm looking for a specific thing. I thought there's a type of goblin that gets called a Dobby, and the guy in the news video says it looks like Dobby from Harry Potter, which it does look like Dobby.
Yes. Now we could cross-reference with Poopery on this one to see if that really is that Dobby character.
Poopery's not a real life Dobby.
Until we can get that verification from an expert.
You ready to look for another video?
Yes.
Nah, I think we should talk about like the actual goblin stories. Cause like, all right, let's look at all the goblin stories. You know.
Can leave this playing in the background then while we do.
Like, well, what's the fucking meaning of all the stories? Because it's all folklore. It's all created by culture to tell a story.
That's not true. They're real.
I don't believe they're real. Nothing you show me wants me.
The thing, there's two pieces of evidence out of all of it. I guess three technically. Like the whole Hopkinsville story really fascinates me, but the fact that almost everybody agrees that Orderic Vitalis was like a reliable source of information. He's like, well, there's actually an explanation for that. And I'm sorry for leading you in there, but the explanation is we don't know when he wrote that. And he lived to be like almost 70 in like 1100. So it's very likely he was like senile and he went to Normandy like, that's a goblin! I saw it!
Yeah, you know, he could be the most respected person, but that doesn't mean everything he says is like gospel.
Yeah. I mean, I just want to know why he wrote about it. Because like, he mostly wrote about realistic like events that happened, like a historian, like he was a chronicler. Like he wrote about events that happened as they happened. And then he just has a story about seeing a goblin in Normandy.
Well, if he's from 1100, you know, like, they're big on stories back then. You were, like,
yeah, but he seemed like a very rational person. But also, I'm sorry, I didn't mean to cut you off.
What's more interesting is that not only is this a very reliable and trusted man chronicling events, he's also chronicled a goblin and lived to be 70 and 1100s. I don't think that those three things are not correlated. I think that they definitely have something to do with each other. I think when you see a goblin, it might extend your life some percentage amount. Or
it's believed that in some stories the red cap can give you fortune. Maybe it gave him a long life. Maybe he found one of the nice red caps.
Unlikely.
But the other interesting thing is that footprint. And like, because maybe I'm wrong, but I just don't think Greg Newkirk or Dana Newkirk for that example, for the same, I'm losing my mind. I've been up for a very long time looking at goblins, but I don't think those two people could have faked that. It doesn't mean it's not fake.
I agree with that, but you said it was like in that pretty popular location for Bigfoot and other folk tales. Like it's it could have been someone else that does have the capital and the know-how to actually like fake.
Absolutely.
Because maybe they weren't aiming for goblin, they made something else that didn't get traction, whatever reason, and just stayed there.
It would be easier to fake a goblin footprint if you had the money than it is to fake a Bigfoot footprint. Because I watched the Les Stroud thing, and the big thing that kept him from faking it is he couldn't make the strides big enough to like make it look like he was tall enough to be Bigfoot. But a goblin footprint, you could do that with your hands and make the strides look realistic, right?
Get Vern Troyer.
Yeah, like. But it's very expensive, and some people, I forget the guy's name, so I feel like an idiot. But he was a forensic analyst, and he said it is fake. It's impossible to like fake dermal ridges. But then, I believe the guy's name is Jeff Meldrum. He's known very well in these Bigfoot communities because he's the guy who debunked a certain Bigfoot footprint or something like that. But he says it could be artifacts from like the plaster casting, and we're just misinterpreting it as dermal ridges.
I mean, I don't think it's impossible to fake dermal ridges.
I might be wrong on his name. Let me check it. I think it's Jeff Meldrum. Yeah, Jeff Meldrum. He is the head of the anthropology department at Idaho State University.
This the video has just captivated me to the point where I'm
I really like that you've
entirely
manually been putting that on repeat.
Yeah, well, I asked if we should find another, and you said no. I'll find another.
I mean,
here's that one. I just love that video. Like it runs from behind the baby's head. I went through a lot of these. Let me see if I can't find a good one, because a lot of these aren't good.
You know what I'm more interested in? I'm interested in the Goku sightings.
Should we look up some Goku sightings?
There's some Goku sightings out there, you know? Goku's like a goblin.
Oh, the thumbnail to this one, but I don't think it's in the video. Well, this one's just like a cat. This one's awful. It's in Argentina though, and they thought it was a goblin. But it's just like, it looks like almost like a big cat walking towards them.
Oh, no, that's a goblin, man.
See, it's kind of got the sway of like a large cat.
But also the kind of like the sway and the goblin.
It's just screaming from here on out.
That's definitely feline movement.
Yeah, I don't believe in that one.
It's like a panther or something.
I don't think I've seen this one. Wait, there's a specific one I got somewhere. It's just a child. And they're screaming real loud. I should probably turn that down. So what do we think about that one? It's not showing my DMs when I'm opening this, is it?
I don't have to.
You guys can see it, but I don't think it's on Twitch.
No, it's on Twitch.
Yeah, I'm scrolling up to find it. There's a really good one in my DMs with Giorgio. It's really high
seeing
up.
the stray pictures scattered in
You see how much we were talking about this?
Oh my god. This is... Dude, send this to me. This is the one I've been looking for a while.
It's really good.
I mean...
It's like the channel's compilation, Supernatural, True or False.
Guys, look, it's a goblin.
I think I have to say that one was true.
Definitely. They showed the
They
goblin.
murdered Howard the alien.
You can't fake a goblin like that, you know? They showed it full frame in the end, you know, lingering. No room for video editing there.
I'm really happy that they circled it because it was actually really hard to see. Yeah, like whenever they add those circles that, like, you know, point out the goblins, you're like, oh shit.
Oh, wait,
dude,
there's-
I can't see them normally.
There's one that I know that I can find real fast.
Wait, maybe that's why we don't see goblins in real life. We don't have the red circles, dude. You
Bro,
can only
that's a
see
good
them when they're
business idea.
circled. Yeah, you can only see goblins when they're circled. That makes so much sense, actually.
No, do you think Hornswoggle was a goblin?
This is a real goblin sighting. Or it's a
Real.
goblet sighting, actually.
No, this is a goblin sighting, isn't it?
It was a goblet.
Oh, I didn't know that, actually. You know, the more you learn.
such a bad video.
What do you mean?
What the fuck?
Wow. Wow.
It has to be real, right?
That
I
has
wish there was
to
a
be-
circle or something though.
Not enough circles.
It's really hard to see without the circle.
Yeah. Yeah, we should definitely make that a business idea. Like, can you like copyright this part of the stream?
Yeah, we'll go up to any
The red
goblin
circles in
your
real
area
life.
and we'll hold a circle in front of it.
I'm just gonna start clicking videos that I haven't seen, so... Oh,
We're actually
dude, they
gonna
got him,
hire
they caught him!
mutants to become
They
goblins.
fucking got the gob, dude. You're gonna cook him.
Did they just
Oh,
catch
no,
like a little
it's-
man and they're going to kill him? Like the whole town?
If you caught a goblin, would you eat it?
No.
Like,
It's inhumane.
Is it
It
like a, I
wasn't
can't tell what that
green.
is it like a puppet or something?
Just like a child.
it's a goblin.
No, there's like the stick
That's
coming off the
kinda
top of
weird.
his head. Is it killed? Can I show that?
I don't
Really
think
weird.
so, man.
Was that blood?
No, we'll see. Just keep playing.
Yeah,
I
just
gotta
go
see it
right.
all. No, this is like one that could actually be real.
This is like the one real one and they killed. Are they throwing it in a fire pit?
Yeah, I don't know what.
Why does it look like he's
I
wearing
know
one
where
of
the
those
goblin
silent
emerges
stupid
from.
hats?
This is on YouTube, so I can't get in trouble for this, right? Like, well, I guess Twitch is like, are they more sensitive or less sensitive?
More sensitive, I'd
Oh,
say.
what?
Way more sensitive,
He's like
yeah.
falling into the fire pit.
He's cooking.
I want to know what
Wait, it's moving, right? I just saw it moving.
it
it's
looked like
moving.
its head was ripped open.
No, look, it's totally moving right now.
Why?
Wait, is this just like some retarded kid who they don't want to take care of anymore?
I don't know, man. This is horrifying.
It's really weird, yeah.
I don't feel comfortable with this video whatsoever.
Who said
Well-
goblins were comfortable?
I should probably
Yeah,
stop
no,
this, right?
I'm fine about the goblin, but the people.
It's
are
almost-
mistreating the
They're all
goblin.
chanting really happily. Like, they're dancing. They
So,
just watched
was
this.
the goblin
They just
thing
put a
that
kid in a
went
fire pit and they're dancing.
Wait. I don't think I know what happened in this video. It's very hard to tell.
Yeah, it's really weird, but it's
Did they put a
it,
kid in the fire pit?
it doesn't look like it's edited, is what I have to say. Like
That
it's
does not
actually
look
high
like you're
quality.
like. Does not look like any of those people have the capability to edit that video.
No, yeah.
That's
like
racist.
Toki probably edited
No,
it.
that's not
but-
racist. It's just like
why can't they edit then, Mason?
because they have they look like they live in a super poor civilization.
I mean, they're literally burning somebody in a fire pit. so-
I want to get banned for that, aren't I?
I would assume so.
I don't think anyone knows what actually happened.
Are we gonna
That's
get
so
banned on
weird.
episode 1 for showing a literal murder? This is just a guy in a costume. That's too big to be a
It's
goblin.
really weird.
This is far too big to be a goblin.
Yeah, that video is really
That's
weird.
like a
Yeah, can you
vampire.
post that video?
The last one?
Yeah, the
It's
one.
like fucking weird.
Oh, if I stopped showing this right when noise started. Oh, he's just running from it.
That one could be a mask.
Oh, that's the wrong one. Where was
Or
it?
demon string.
Oh, I know
It
that
was
one.
up further. That was the ones. That's the kids. I've lost it. It's in my history. I'll find it after the stream.
You search the one Control F to one day.
It was a
It's
goblin
up there.
one. It's in my history. I'll give it to you after the stream. I probably
Wait,
should.
what was that CNN thing?
Senators receive classified briefing. It's. I think this is probably talking about Operation Blue Book
Okay.
because that was the Air Force.
Wait,
in-
Indonesia. Yeah, what about those Indonesia ones?
I'll
Okay.
be right back.
Real, not fake. That probably means it's real.
You know, it was
What about
Voldemort.
fairies?
Fairies could technically be goblins. Should we look for fairy sightings next?
I still don't seem like
Oh! It like ducks out of the way as soon as he drives down it. Yeah, look at it.
That looks so edited, actually.
What do
the
you mean?
contrast is like completely off.
They didn't even try. It's not even the same like pixelation as the
No, this
rest
is
of the
real.
video.
If there's video of it, it's
The
real.
very first scene looks weird. No, you can easily fake videos.
No, you can't.
It's true.
They could be staged, I mean.
Yeah, no, they found a
Goblin.
real goblin and asked him to act in the video. That's how they staged it.
What if they're just like?
It's got really epic music too.
What if goblins are real like intertwined with like our society and we just didn't realize
What
it?
is
You know.
giggling goblin sighting?
What if we are goblins?
Oh, it's just a kid. He's the goblin. Evil
How do you
snow
know
goblin.
we
This
are
is the one I was
goblins?
looking for.
That sighting was fake because he wasn't near a cave.
Yeah, no, this one I was looking for. It's really bad. Like, I don't know what it is, but it's so stupid looking.
What's that? It's a snow goblin! Kill it! It's a snow goblin!
Fuck, dude.
Just
Yeah.
like something completely random and unrelated, but they removed layers on Grobulus.
Oh, nice.
Real oh, this is the...
Bro, I need my Goku sighting right now, bro.
Should I do a fairy sighting? Or are we going to do
Goku
Goku sightings? Should we do an episode about... Our April Fool's episode could be Goku.
I mean,
Can you really go Super Saiyan?
maybe we can, dude. Maybe like Dragon Ball Z is a documentary.
Yeah, it's as much a documentary as Hellier is.
Maybe the camera was on acid.
Why do you have a jump scare video on?
I don't know.
Related jump scare. Discord notification. Yeah, you see what Mason said, by the way, Ethan?
Oh no, I don't have a Discord open.
Discord.
Yeah, I think this seems like a pretty good place to finish.
Yeah, after this video.
Yeah.
I think before it would have been better.
Jump scare. Why does it have so many likes?
I'll give it a like.
I feel like Fallout 4 text.
Was that the
Closing
jump?
statements, I think, on goblins.
Okay, yeah. So. Oh, what? I don't want it to be on that slide. Oh, it's playing on its own. Okay.
I guess we could ask that question again.
Yeah. So what? Really,
Yo,
what is a
people
goblin
chat,
now?
What is a goblin?
Yeah, are we starting over?
Yeah, we're just doing it all over.
Yeah, part 2.
But
Part two.
I guess what do we wind down with? Like how? What have you guys taken away from this? I guess is what I should ask.
Goblin is the
aren't real.
term for a female goblin.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's a good takeaway. Real quick before we end, I just do want to say, like, future plans. There really isn't a set in stone schedule as of now. We're kind of just going to do them when we do them. We're trying to get it. We want to get another episode out on Halloween, basically. And that's about it. Yeah. In the tab below the stream, there's a link to a Twitter account. We have a subreddit. On the subreddit, feel free to share like stories or experiences. There isn't a Discord, but I should make one, and I will make one, and I'll put it in the description here. Or I'll tweet it out.
Revamp Nugget Radio.
Honestly, yeah.
No, good radio. I ruined that.
But I'll post the link to it on Twitter after I set it up. But yeah, if you have true story, or not even, if you just have a story of a paranormal experience, it doesn't have to be goblins, anything really, feel free to like send it our way, because something I want to do is an episode that's just us reading viewers' stories and talking about it. That would be really fun.
Well, that comes in the future. You gotta get an audience first.
Yeah, yeah. Of course, of course. Yeah, I'm like, it's not gonna be anything anytime soon.
Oh, dude, we should ask House of Styles to come.
Do you House of
And
Styles?
real quick,
Or like,
I just want to wait. Oh, I've got. Hey, post it on the Reddit, and I'll read it. And I also want to say thank you to Habblewater, High Curdle, Dream Surfer, and Magma Dragoon for following. Thank you.
Let's go.
Thank you very much. Make sure to share with your friends.
Bro,
Yeah,
this emote looks like a goblin.
word of mouth is a great way to spread things like these. And so yeah, you can go look at your goblet porn now. So
Honestly, yeah, I'm about to go do that real quick.
bye, bye,
Bye!
bye,
Good
bye,
night, my friend.
bye,
Adios. Au
bye.
revoir.
Bye!